All right, what's going on, guys? Farzin Vasugian here with you. It is. Let me take these glasses off. All right, there we go. That's better. Whew. Man, did you guys see that Bills game? I was told the Bills were invincible, but guess not. Listen, I don't think the Jaguars' offense is anything too great to go crazy over, but ETN's a good player. Didn't go off against the Chiefs, though. Here's what I will say in response to the last couple of weeks, because I think we've kind of seen teams come down to earth a little bit. Obviously, everyone's talking about the Chiefs not being themselves as usual, and I think it's a fair discussion to have. But look what happened last week when the Dolphins, a couple of weeks ago, they put up 70 on the Broncos, and they couldn't even compete with the Bills after the first quarter last week. And the Bills got all this praise. Josh Allen moved ahead of Tua in the MVP betting favorite. I know it's early, but still, a lot of people felt like Josh Allen was the best player in the NFL after last week. And you look at his performance today, he only put up one score until he really had to rally his troops late in that game against the Jaguars. So you're starting to see some of the inconsistencies. And listen, the Chiefs, they've been to 3 Super Bowls in recent memory, winning 2 of them, and they've had some of their fair share of some struggles and whatnot in those games. But at the end of the day, the Chiefs they're winning championships. They're going to Super Bowls. The Bills are a team that can't even reach the Super Bowl, and they've had all these inconsistencies. So, I think when you look at the Chiefs offense right now, I heard Kirk Morrison say a couple of weeks ago, defenses are kind of ahead of offenses this year. Offenses this season are not as good as they have been in the last few years. And that is true. There's some truth to that. But the Chiefs are not the only team that's struggling. And that's not to say that's an excuse or anything. They definitely need to pick it up. But, man, they're far from the worst offense right now. When you look at the Chiefs and how they operate, I know there's all this talk, even from me, about the receivers not being as good as we thought we would have liked for them to be at this point. You look at passing yards per game, Chiefs are still in the top 10. Bills were just ahead of them coming into this week. Chiefs throwing the ball almost 260 yards a game. The Bills 262 yards a game. In general, when you look at total offense, the Chiefs are the third best in the NFL. The Dolphins, by a wide margin, more than 100 and almost 15 yards ahead of San Francisco, leading the NFL with 511 yards per game on offense. Obviously, they're playing now off to a good start, as I'm sure some of you guys saw. So I think the offense, even though it's not where we'd like for it to be, it's still ahead of most offenses in the NFL right now. That's for sure. Danny says, worried this can be a trap game. I don't care what the Vikings record is. No, this is actually, I don't like that word trap game. It almost feels like, anytime the Chiefs, and listen, I know people make a big deal every offseason about how difficult the Chiefs schedule is going to be, and it ends up being one of the easier schedules almost every year. So during the seasons, it just feels like the Chiefs, every game is supposed to be an easy one, and so every game people bring up the trap game comment. What I will say is I think Danny is onto something here with the Vikings. Yeah, sure, they're 1-3 right now, but all 4 of their games have been 1-score games. They've got a great offense with Kirk Cousins. I think he leads the NFL in touchdown passes. Jefferson leads the NFL in receiving yards, but they've committed more turnovers than any offense in the NFL this season. So this is one of the Vikings. This is one of the teams in the NFL that are so hard to predict because they should be really good, but they also do a lot of stupid things that they shouldn't be doing. Like, compare that to the Bengals. Like, the Bengals should be a much better football team, right? But it's not like the Bengals are committing a vast amount of turnovers. No, they're just bad. They just have not been able to. Get the ball moving this year. So there's a difference there. Yeah, I've heard that a time or two before. I agree. Yeah, good on you, Scott. I said the Bills. that parlay is already dead for me, but I do have a couple other parlays still alive. So thank you, Stephon Diggs and Travis Etienne Jr. I, I always laugh when I hear Travis Etienne's name. And listen, I know I pronounced a few names wrong. I mean, it happens. People pronounce my name wrong. But I was listening to a podcast the other day, and someone pronounced Travis Etienne's name as Etienne Jr. Come on. That's not even close to how it even looks. The Chiefs defense has saved you. They saved me? They've saved me personally? Wow, Paul. I'll take that. A bunch of linebackers, defensive linemen saving me. Cool. Pacheco has been outstanding. The passing game has stinks. Points are way down. Yeah, I mean, I just went over some of the numbers there. By the way, you're talking about points being way down. The Chiefs are still in the top 10 in points per game. They're in the top 10 in passing yards per game and top 5 total offense. So I just went over this a moment ago. A lot of offenses in general are just not where they should be this year. So it's not just the Chiefs. A lot of offenses have kind of struggled this year. And if anything, I would still bet on Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs offense to play much better the rest of the season. You're lying to yourself if you think that's not going to be the case. The only way that's possible is if you start seeing injuries all around with the key players. Vikings are too good to be a trap game. They've just had some bad rules. No, okay, I can see that, Kevin. I think to the casual fan, it may feel like a trap game because if you just watch your favorite team, like let's say you just watch Chiefs games, and you think that the Vikings are just 1-3 and one of the worst things, yeah, it might be a trap game from that perspective. But I can see your side of things, Kevin. We need a big pass game. That I 100% agree, and that only happens if Pacheco has a good game. Yeah, I can see that. A lot of times people have talked about, if your passing game is better than your running game, or if your running game is better than your passing game, a lot of times I hear analysts talk about utilizing those strengths because when defenses least expect it, you'll be able to work on the side of the ball, the offensive facet that doesn't thrive as well, and be able to use that to throw defenses off. So I can see what you're saying there. Yeah, and listen, I would not be surprised if they try to run it a little bit more. I know a lot of Chiefs fans have been complaining for a couple of years now. Why are we not running the ball more? Well, we're kind of seeing it the past couple of weeks, right? Did you see that Chicago Bears game? All three running backs scored for the Chiefs in that game. McKinnon, CEH, Pacheco, they all scored in that one. Last week, Pacheco had his best game as a Chief to date. He hasn't even been in the league for a year and a half yet, but still, the way he's been utilized, and he got a lot of attention last week from the play callers. He definitely stepped up and had a big role in last week's win for sure. And yeah, going back to the other comment about how, the offense has not been living up to the expectations. I mean, listen, again, if you can find a way to score and win, that's all that matters at the end of the day. And look, I'll say this, because so many people keep talking about how the defense has saved Patrick Mahomes. Do you know how many times Patrick Mahomes has saved the Chiefs defense? People forget about this so much. In years past, actually, in Patrick Mahomes' first year as a starting quarterback in 2018, when Alex Smith moved on to Washington, the Chiefs had a 31st ranked defense. Patrick Mahomes was essentially a redshirt rookie that year, and an offside/overtime call away from going to the Super Bowl with Bob Sutton's 31st ranked defense. So for all the times Mahomes has bailed out this Chiefs defense, I don't see the problem with the defense bailing out Patrick Mahomes. I really don't. The way I see it is you're returning the favor with the trust and expectation that the offense will get it together at some point. I think the Chiefs will win, but I don't think the Vikings game will be a gimme by any means. No, I have it being a one-score game. I'm going 28. If you heard the podcast, you already know this, but I'm going 28-24. That's my score. Love KT, but if If he cannot put real numbers up this game, I love how you put real in all capital letters. I am officially going to declare him a fail based on the indisputability. Really bad stats this year. No valid excuse for his stats if he has another game today like his first 4. Okay, well Dan, let me ask you this. And I think everything you're saying is fair. Yeah, Kadarius Toney is certainly not living up to the expectations. All this talk all off season about how he was touted to be the number 1 receiver for the Chiefs, especially after how well he did last year when he was available. If you're considering Kadarius Toney a failure, what do you say about the rest of the receiving crew? Because Justin Watson is your best receiver right now on the team. Statistically speaking, fewer catches and more yards. He has more receiving yards than any other player on the team. Obviously, Travis Kelce will surpass that. Had he played that first game, it probably would be Kelce who leads the team in receiving yards. But, man, it's just not a good look for this entire receiving core here. It's not just Kadarius Toney. I know a lot of people maybe still thinking about that week 1 game, and I understand, but I think they've been able to put those drops away. It's been 3 games now. Today's going to be 4 games since that loss. So, I mean, I agree. Kadarius Toney has to step up. He's got to play much better than this. And there's been some talk, who is your number 1 receiver on the team? Are the Chiefs going to go find a trade partner and get a number 1 receiver? I think the Vikings are underrated. It will be a tough game in my opinion. Yes, Juan, I agree. We need to start fast and rest the starters because we play the Donkeys on Thursday. Yeah, and listen, two games in 5 days, but being at home definitely helps. Chiefs last few years score every time they had the ball, running up the score. This year, struggling to score. Running up the score. I mean, the Chiefs score a lot, but I keep hearing about how the Chiefs don't cover the spread, so I don't know how both can be true. I want our passing game to stretch the field today. Yeah, against this Vikings defense, you should be able to do that. Yeah, I mean, I would even include the running backs, Dan, because the running backs have kind of tried to pick up the slack for the lack of production from our receivers. See, this is something we saw Amir Smith-Marset do. We also saw Justin Ross do this in the preseason. Again, it's a preseason, mind you, but we play those games for a reason. Now, obviously, Amir Smith-Marset is no longer on the team. The Chiefs traded him, and Justin Ross, on the other hand, we're talking about our receivers. I'd like to start. Yeah, we're in week 5. I said a few weeks ago, people were asking in week 1 after the loss to the Lions. People were saying, "Where the hell is Justin Ross? Why are we not using him?" One of the things I talked about was his ability to create separation. Which is a huge, I mean, quarterbacks absolutely love that. That's a huge deal why Travis Kelce gets wide open in this offense and Mahomes throws to him constantly. And even before Kelce and Mahomes, you saw a lot of that with tight ends, even the backup tight ends like Demetrius Harris be able to do some of that when Alex Smith was throwing the ball. But sticking on the subject here with Justin Ross, I said in a few weeks, give it time. Well, now you're in week 5, and I think that it's time for Justin Ross to start getting involved a little bit. I hope the coaching staff has some things planned for him, but we shall see. Defense has been good. Offense bad, then good. Defense bad. When is the last time they were both dominating? It's been a while. Yeah. We've talked about this in the last, I want to say, year and a half, where we just don't have this balance with this team. Yeah, but I don't know. You hear a lot of players on the trade block, and then they figure things out, and who knows? But we'll see. I thought Mike Evans was going to be that guy, but things are working out really well. And even Baker Mayfield talked about it on Pat McAfee's show, which is good. I've always been a big fan of Baker Mayfield, so I'm good to see all of that. I'm good to see all of that pan out. I know week one it was the wide receiver, but do you think Mahomes has blame on the other games? Yeah, no, I think it's a fair point here. Mahomes has not played as great. When you look at the MVP odds, and again, I understand it's early, but I think there's still a good reference as to what people think of how the players are doing this year. Mahomes is up there with the MVP odds. I'm kind of so it was Tua with Mahomes right behind him. Then it's Allen with Mahomes right behind him. Honestly, not to get off topic, I think Christian McCaffrey is the best player this year. I think he's the MVP, the early front runner for MVP, but that's a topic for another time. Yeah, I think Mahomes has definitely made some questionable decisions, especially last week against the Jets. And I think those are situations, especially with Mahomes, a guy who learns really well from his mistakes and finds a way to improve upon it. And let's not forget something here. The Chiefs, remember that 3-4 start in 2021 when they weren't even that far behind in the division, and damn near everybody wrote off the Chiefs. Mahomes was leading the league in interceptions that year in the first 7 games. Well, they figured it out. And I know the season didn't end as well as they would have liked for it to end with that loss to Cincinnati, but nobody had them hosting the AFC Championship game after 7 weeks. Everyone thought the Chiefs were done and that the rest of the division, same thing last offseason. Oh, the division got better. Every offseason, it's something in the Chiefs. Right now, the Chiefs have the number 1 seed in the AFC. So, again, early, but what does that tell you? For a team that's struggling, and I know people are pointing out the struggles, who has the number 1 seed right now coming into this week? It's the Chiefs. So, I still agree. We got to see a lot of improvement with Mahomes, Tony, Kelsey. I don't know how much that knee is bothering him. I know on McAfee's show he said he's 100%, but I don't know if I buy that necessarily. Yeah, that's my thing, man. Every time I see him get hit, I kind of just hold my breath too. What's the Vikings run defense ranked? I think I want to say they were kind of in the middle of the pack. No, okay, I had that wrong. They're oh, this is the Vikings offense. My bad. I knew something did not look right there. Yeah, they're 16th. I was about to say middle of the pack because I looked that up earlier this week. Yeah, they are 16th in that category. But you just told me the Chiefs are blowing everyone out, Paul. Which one is it? I love when people come on here to hate on a team and then they just completely refute their own comments. Always great when we get. Hey, Paul, all love to you, brother. You're the one commenting on my live stream. You're watching me when there are literally games on right now. So I'm not mad. Chiefs have beaten the Donkeys 15 times in a row. Not concerned about the 5 days prep. Oh boy, man, it's been more than 2,900 days. 2,900 days since the Chiefs last loss to the Broncos. Which quarterback contract looks worse, Russell Wilson or Joe Burrow? Oh, Jesus Christ. I mean, I can give Burrow a little bit of slack. Like I don't know how much that injury is hurting him right now and setting him back. Plus, that offensive line is really not his bad. I mean, you saw what happened to the Chiefs in the AFC Championship game or the Super Bowl a few years ago. Even though Bengals fans kept saying all year long they upgraded the line. Russell Wilson has had a more decorated career, but Joe Burrow has the biggest contract in NFL history. I don't know. I mean, flip a coin, Dan. That's your answer. A good question. A terrible answer to a good question. I just read this one. Sky Moore and KT should have good yards this year. They love the blitz and defense is good. The defense for the Chiefs or the defense that the teams are playing against? I think that you're referring to the latter. Oh, you're just referring to this game. Okay, I'm sorry. I thought you were talking about this year. Okay, I see your follow-up comment. Speaking of Sky Moore, is it time to bench Sky Moore if he doesn't have a great game today? See, everyone's talking about Sky Moore not living up to expectations, that he needs to step up today. Kadarius Toney needs to step up today. I don't disagree that the Chiefs receivers are off to a very slow start, which is, to the earlier comment about Toney, I was saying, if you consider him a failure, what do you say about the rest of the receivers? And, Sky Moore's brought up. So, you picked 7 wide receivers. Could have had 8, with Amir Smith-Marset, and I don't know if you're allowed to have 8 or what with that rule, but you keep 7, and I get there's no fullback this year, but this is how your receivers look. It doesn't say a lot of good things about the Chiefs in that department so far. And again, I don't know if it's on the coaches, because you do have a new offensive coordinator, not a brand new guy completely. He's been with the system before. He was a quarterback's coach last year. He was the offensive coordinator before he got hired by the Bears. And you also have a new wide receivers coach for the Chiefs. Again, someone who was promoted from within, was a quality control coach. So I don't know if these assistants moving to new positions within the team has anything to do with it. There's been some talk about that this week, and a lot of people just don't not really sure exactly where to point the finger on that there. Not Chiefs related, but did you watch the Bills-Jags game? What do you think of the very last play of the game? I'll be honest. So I was out and about during the fourth quarter running errands. It was either miss the early slate of games right now, or miss the end of the Jags game, and I chose the Jags game. So I did not see that. I heard on the radio, apparently they tried a lateral. I will say this. I was listening to the Buffalo Bills radio broadcast. I don't know the name of their play-by-play broadcaster, but he said on the radio back when the score, I think, was 11-7. 11-7. That was the score. He said it feels like a slow, painful death. Your own broadcaster just said that about your offense. So imagine that. I hope so. My parlay would definitely enjoy that for sure. So Robert, air horns for that. Let's be honest here. Mahomes is a much better quarterback than Burrow. Oh, Jesus Christ. I mean, this is not even up for debate. I know. People always talk about 3-1. Even Joe Burrow says Mahomes is a better quarterback. So when it's coming from the horse's mouth, that's when you know. I mean, this is not even up for debate. And on one leg too, Blake. Yeah, I agree. Burrow has to be worried about not playing well after the money they gave him. I mean, look, it's a little early, but when you sign that contract and that is how you look in your first 4 games, there are going to be question marks, even with the injury. Here's my thing. If I get it, these guys are getting millions of dollars, so there's a lot of pressure to be able to perform and do well. But if you're injured and that's why you're not playing well, then why are you playing? Take an L for the first couple of weeks, rest up, heal up, and then get ready. And on the flip side of that, why are you giving your quarterback this big contract if he's hurt? I've never understood the logic to that. Got a spammer. That's always fun. Yeah, Amir Smith-Marset, I guess you have to pick and choose. And I don't even think he's playing much for the Panthers. I'm just looking up the Panthers stats quickly, guys. I know it's not anything we care about too much, but I'm very curious to know. Yeah, Amir Smith-Marset doesn't even have a target this year. Hasn't even targeted once. I'm on the right page, right? Yeah, Panthers. Yeah. I don't know, man. Just with his speed and his ability to get yak. And I know Chiefs haters love to talk about Patrick Mahomes passing yards being inflated, about yards after the catch being a big reason. Well, yeah, that's part of passing yards. Boy, I thought Amir Smith-Marset could have really contributed to that in a bigger manner. And Andy Reid's style of offense. But this hasn't really panned out for him, I guess. That just sucks, man. Like, you're a bubble player and you work your ass off in the preseason and you go from the reigning champs to a winless team. Like, that sucks. That really does. I love the impact Orlando Brown has made for the Bengals. Yeah, that money well spent. Money well spent, Cincinnati. Money well spent. This will be a good game, but we can do it. We're going to do it. Yeah, I think so, Hunter. Chiefs receivers are as good as any team has. We are just off. It will come with time. Listen, Juju and MVS got off to a slow start. We had a lot of newcomers last year, and we got a lot of newcomers this year too. Guys who did not spend the offseason with Mahomes and the rest of the team. So I'll read a couple more and get out of here. Oh, I'm caught up on the comments just about. So go Chiefs. All right, Mike. Good call. I like it. Yeah, I don't know. Here's the crazy thing is I would have said Justin Watson should be the odd man out, but I guess the contract they gave him didn't make it feasible to cut him. And on top of that, he's leading the team in receiving yards right now. I know Travis Kelce missed the game, but still, that's your receiver, your leading receiver. Not really. Nobody thought that after 4 weeks, Justin Watson would be your team leader in receiving yards. Scott asked a really good question. What is the main thing you want to see from the Chiefs in this game? Two big things. One is the receivers. I'm not going to elaborate on that because I feel like that's been the theme of this live chat here. But the biggest thing I really want to see, I've been saying this for a few weeks. I think the defense has been great for the Chiefs. They really have been. But there's one thing they have not been doing this year, and that is forcing turnovers. You got to do that. Oh, boy, got a frog there. Yeah, Justin Watson. All right, guys, I'm going to get out of here. Appreciate you guys joining me for this live stream. I got to take care of this cough here. Hopefully it's not COVID. Zuckerberg, please don't put a COVID thing on this. Now that I said he's going to put information about COVID. That always happens. All right, I'm out of here, guys. Predicting a 28-24 victory for the Chiefs. Come back at halftime. We'll talk about the first half, and then post-game, we'll do live chats, live call-ins if you guys want to do that. I know we didn't do it last week because it was late, but I'll make that option available this time. We haven't had a lot of people call in, so please call in to the post-game show. I'll have the links available, whatnot. You just got to click it, turn on your camera on your phone, laptop, whatever it is you're watching on, and we'll chat it up. I'll talk to you guys later. Enjoy your NFL Sunday. Take care.